Now we come back to Trachea, to Plovdiv, to Bulgaria, to the local context here. Next we'll speak Meglena Zlatkova, who is teaching here at the Plovdiv University. And she has a history mixing anthropology, sociology with architecture. She has always been interested in these topics. The reason why she will speak about Trachea now is her book called Ethnosociology of the City, the Example of Plovdiv, which focuses a lot on Trachea and the local context here. She has worked with in the fields of urban anthropology, visual anthropology, ethnosociology. So I give the stage to Meglena, and then we'll start the discussion.
Thank you. First of all, welcome to everybody. As I was presented, I'm local, and I'm going to share with you some results from my long-term research on Trachea. And what I was interesting the most in this environment here was the city, and it was, and also the topic was how people inhabit the city and how city teaching people how to live together, or vice versa. My starting point here, the question, why city? Why the city was the topic of my research. From anthropological viewpoint, we can say that every city is a picture of the actual problems of the society. So every society imagines itself in the city. So, and on the other hand, if we study the urban environment, we can see all those crystallized forms of sociability and cultural models of dwelling the towns and the cities. Why Plovdiv? I use Plovdiv as a laboratory of urban life, especially for the context of Bulgaria and let's say the Balkans, because historically Plovdiv is an example of a Balkan city, inheriting the Byzantine city, the Roman city, and if you want, going deeply to the historical discourse, we will start with the Thracian who created the city, who settled the area. And my position was the position of anthropologists at home. Usually the classical anthropologists are going in a very exotic places and societies that are different from their culture. And what the urban anthropologist is doing is trying to act as a foreigner in its home society. So I tried to act like this. So why the newly built residential area Trachea? My main point was to try to understand the city in transition, because studying Bulgarian society in the late 90s and years after 2000 was not a very simple task. So I try to see the city in transition as a reflection in the mirror of the previous urban situation. So we cannot understand the city nowadays without having this historical context, because the city life is inherited also. The model of the city of socialism I found in Trachea, because when I wanted to study the city in 90s and 2000 and years after 2000, I tried to find this model of the previous urban situation, which was the urban situation of the socialist society. That's why I chose Trachea. And Trachea because from the very beginning Trachea was not only architectural experiment, but it was also a social experiment. So I wanted to see how, and this project of the socialist state remained unfinished under the conditions of state socialism, but the people are still there, and they continue to live and they continue to inhabit their homes, their blocks of flats, and their areas around. I will skip these theoretical notes. Just want to mention that I was interested in inhabited city. So this dual nature of the city as from one side city who produce the way of life of the citizens and as physical environment, and on the other hand how the people feel this physical environment with their activities, with their symbols, with their signs. So I was interested in memories, I was interested in urban stories, but I also was interested in the everyday life activities. Where the residential Trachea is situated in Plovdiv, you all know now better because you arrived here. How I studied the residential area. I was interested in spaces and places, and one of the main divisions that I wanted to explore was what was the boundary between private and public space, because the question of public and private during the socialism was quite different than nowadays. So all these transformations were a question of negotiation between the institutions and the people amongst them in their residential area. How they negotiated? Usually they mastered the public areas. And what was the other point that was interesting for me was how people made the uniform different. Not only the uniform as a flat in a block of flats, but also a uniform as a demographic and social experiment. So many people, different people with different social background, with different cultural, religious, ethnic background were put in one and the same situation, in one and the same time. So this mixture of people was a kind of experimental in the very beginning, but the people found their own ways of living together. And of course, place construction and transformations and transitions. I will continue with some visual examples because you're architects and you will read probably more on these pictures. And my first case is for the division public-private and appropriation between private and public. Is the case of the first floor apartment, as I call it. And why it was interesting for me? Because all these transformations of the panel prefabricated blocks of flats, as you call them, were done bottom up, of course with the cooperation with institutions, but all of them appeared because of the shortages of the project or because of this unfinished project of socialism. So the lack of the public spaces and the common places, associative spaces, was something that people in 90s tried to overcome by their activities in different ways. So here you can see pharmacy, mini market, some studios, and mastering the areas around blocks of flats was something that made me search for communities, neighbor communities. Because even now when you walk in Trakia, you will see some blocks of flats with nice gardens around them, and some blocks of flats with some not that happy environment around. And that's how people try to overcome all these shortages. So these are new buildings, and nowadays new buildings have all these offices, all these spaces for small business in Trakia. And of course the new huge hypermarket chains who arrived in the neighborhood. Another way of acting together, or not only together, way of appropriating these public spaces around block of flats is the case with the common places. The common places that people tried to inhabit in different ways. So this is the situation in 90s with some improvements, let's say, but and some signs that people from the local parts of the buildings decided to show their identity, to show their here patriotism with the flags of Bulgaria, new buildings, and the transformations of gardens and balconies, and creating of all those semi-public, semi-private spaces. So here you can see the examples of these small gardens around blocks of flats. They're not communal gardens. Usually they're run by a certain neighbors from the block of flat. And the other topic, which was very important for the life of the city of transition, were the marketplaces. From the very beginning, they were quite chaotic. They appeared in different parts of the town. And after the year 2000, they became normalized, and they became organized in these hypermarkets and shopping centers. Another shortage of the socialist project was the lack of places for social interactions. No cafes, no restaurants, almost no cafes and restaurants in Trakia. This shortage was overcome in a very in a way that almost in every block of flat there is a kind of small coffee or a place where the neighbors can meet together and have drinks. Talking about making community of the neighborhood, I will finish with the symbolic construction of community and with some examples. The sacred places didn't exist in the neighborhood. That's why just after the 90s, chapels and cathedrals appeared. These are the examples of Orthodox chapel and Catholic cathedral built in Trakia, and the newest one and the biggest one, Orthodox church, that was built in the year 2012. And the generations of Trakia, it was interesting for me to try to understand why the people in Trakia, they have this local identity. They really feel they have share this feeling of belonging to the place. and how the different generations were socialized in the neighborhood. So it's not easy to live in a block of flats with, and to inhabit this block of flats with many children. So I will stress your attention on the so-called emblem of Trachea. It was presented to the public in 2006, and what we can see as elements who create this emblem are the buildings, are the trees, and the unfinished church in that moment, and the non-existing monument. Some pictures from the very beginning, talking about collective memory, another way of constructing the community was shared by previous lecturers, and all those are the festivals. This is the 30th anniversary of Trachea, organized in 2006. Some moments from this anniversary, and it was the recovering of the tradition of celebrating the days of Trachea with another symbolic constructions like flags, like a flag of Trachea, and some rituals who were invented, and that's how this non-existing monument from the emblem of Trachea in 2006 appeared on the surface of the neighborhood in 2007, and it was the biggest event talking about this festive life organized by the municipality and by the state, and probably it was the only festival in the neighborhood visited by the President of Republic in Bulgaria. At that time it was Georgi Pervanov. So I will finish with this final point, yes, in the construction of community in the neighborhood. Thank you for your attention.